Welcome to Chronicles. We're actually in the middle of the story of the feeding of the 5,000, and we're going to pick it up at verse 35. So let's read. By this time, it was late in the day, so his disciples came to him. "This is a remote place," they said, "and it's already very late. Send the people away so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But he answered, "You give them something to eat." They said to him, "That would take more than half a year's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" "How many loaves do you have?" he asked. "Go and see." When they found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. Then Jesus told them to make all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to his disciples to distribute to the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces of bread and fish. The number of the men who had eaten was 5,000.
And that's just men.
Huge.
I mean, some people think that when you include women and children, you've been looking at 15,000 or upwards.
Yeah.
So this is an enormous growth. And this is one of the most famous miracles of Jesus, isn't it? It crops up in every one of the Gospels.
Yeah.
And it's even one of those expressions that has made its way into secular language. Oh, this is going to be feeding the 5,000, feeding the 5,000, because it is such an iconic story, really. And and for good reason, I think what's interesting, verse 35, and we were picking up on this in our session a couple of days ago, is that the apostles and the disciples have come back and they've reported to Jesus all the things that they did and saw on their mission. And yet they're still being hounded by these great crowds. And whereas we might expect Jesus just to say, "Right, go away, guys, give us some time," actually he has compassion on them, he teaches them, but he is also going to provide for them in this miraculous way, and in doing that, reveal something incredible about himself.
So they might have had a little bit more patience. Well, okay, we've been teaching, let's let Jesus teach for a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they go, "Okay, enough's enough." They're all looking at their watches.
Send them home. Yeah.
They need to go now. But and they're seeing, they're hungry. But when they come up with the idea, let's send them out to the villages and towns to get something to eat, he turns it back on them and says, "You give them something to eat."
And it's an amazing statement, isn't it? Because what he's really doing there, I mean, it's quite funny, isn't it? It's something funny about it. But what he's doing there, I think, is revealing that they still have got some way to go before they truly grasp the identity of Christ. And I think right up until chapter 8, that's the point that's been made, isn't it? Like there needs to be this revelation of who Jesus is before the penny drops. And I think he's wanting to say to them, look, you guys are thinking only in material terms here. There's too many people, we don't have enough, it would cost too much, send them home, we can't. They're still not sort of thinking big picture, supernatural provision.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Most of the miracles up till now have been individuals, healing this one and that one, driving out this demon and that demon. This is big scale miracle here. This is, and as the story goes on, I'm sort of thinking, he's dropping loads of hints here, isn't he? They're sitting down in hundreds and fifties.
Yes.
He's sort of trying to help. He's trying to get them to go, "Hold on a minute. This reminds me of an Old Testament story." But they're not getting it, are they?
No.
They're just. This is what Moses did. Hundreds, 50s. But they're still, as I say, because they're thinking they're thinking is still quite small. It's yes, Jesus is powerful. Yes, he can do. Like even calmed the storm. That was pretty big. But this is this is a different story.
Different. Yeah. We've got real hungry people.
Yeah, and thousands of them.
Yeah.
You know? Like 5,000 men, probably plus women and children.
Yeah.
You're talking 15,000 people here.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's a big task. And I think there's some kind of encouragement in what the disciples are doing, because it's interesting that earlier in chapter 6, they themselves on their kind of pre-apostolic mission have experienced and seen God provide for them in miraculous ways. When they were anointing people with oil, driving out demons, healing people, they've seen the power of God at work. Yeah. And yet just a short while later, they seem to forget these possibilities. And we're so like that, aren't we? We might see God answer our prayers and do incredible things for us in the ministry. Yeah. And then just a week later, we can doubt, and we're so like that. Jesus is thankfully so patient. But as you rightly say, I think there's more going on here than just a feeding miracle. Jesus is sort of sort of trying to get their minds back into Moses. That what have we got here? Large crowd in a wilderness. Supernatural provision, satisfaction of the people. This Jesus is saying, the one greater than Moses is here, isn't he? It's that kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, and then, like, even, I just wonder as well, like, when they're picking up the leftovers, again, they obviously didn't do this because he has to go on to remind them later on.
Yeah.
But, like, 12 baskets. 12 baskets of leftovers.
It's not an accident, is it?
Yeah, that's right. It's like, I wonder if any of them did say, like, so for instance, Matthew, right?
Yeah.
He's good with numbers. He used to be a tax collector. Is he going 12? Huh, that's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's 12 of us.
Yeah.
And then but obviously they're not. But you just sort of think none of them got it.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it. Does it? And I mean, I think it is an extraordinary. And they all ate and were satisfied.
Yeah.
So it probably would be possible with modern technology, laser division, to actually break up 5 loaves and 2 fish into 15,000 pieces. But no one would say that was a satisfactory portion that they received. And here they are. Yeah. This is just an incredible thing. I remember sitting on a panel recently, not recently, last year it was, a sort of interfaith panel at a secondary school, and the kids were asking us all questions about the Bible. And one of them asked about this miracle. Another chap I was sat with said, and this is the kind of thing you might read in some commentaries, but you can hardly believe anyone actually believes this. Said that the real miracle here was that Jesus enabled people to share what little they had with their neighbours, and in that way everyone was satisfied. And so the miracle was overcoming stinginess, really. And you just think there is no warrant for that interpretation. That's not a plain understanding of this, is it? And the point here is, this is a supernatural act of God, incredible miracle pointing to who Jesus is.
Yeah. And I think it might be a sort of a side note, but the fact that the story is just told, there's no sort of, there's no shame in it, there's no, let's just sort of try and give you some evidence to prove that the miracle was done. Everybody believed it, There's no attempt to justify it. It's just told.
Yeah, it's just
Which sort of goes to show. This miracle was known about. It was believed. Yeah. That the eyewitnesses saw it with their own.
And these weren't thick people who were just waiting to be deluded by any trickster or magician who came along. They weren't sensible men. Something awesome has happened here. And I think, so the call for us is to recognise who this Jesus is, isn't it? But also, I think with that, there comes a sort of encouragement that the Lord can use our little efforts to do things, can't he? I think there is something in that often, particularly in this lockdown time, that, that sort of our efforts and services perhaps have looked and felt weak, and our efforts to reach the community feel like they've been just weak and hindered. But actually, God can take the little bits of sandwich and he can use it and multiply it for his own glory and feed the people. And that's what we want. That's what
Fish finger sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. Fish finger sandwich. Great. Join us next time where we'll be thinking about another miracle, Jesus walking on water.